Hi everybody, hope you're safe and well. We are continuing the chord series of videos, and I would like to start this video by just going through a few more of the chord progressions in chapter 5, and something that I want you to pay attention to as you are practicing these chords, just a little theory. This is something for us as guitar players that not necessarily will be tested on, but something that will be of value for your entire guitar playing efforts, we could say. And that is what chords go together. And so the formula I was talking about before is a 1-4-5 formula. That's not how you build a particular chord. When you're building a chord, remember there's a root note, a third above that, and a fifth above that. 1-3-5. That's how you build an individual chord, with a root, a third, and a fifth. Those letter names all relating in numbers that way. But when I memorize chords, again, I don't need to learn how to spell chords in order to play them. I can learn the shape of a D chord or a G chord and play it and get it into some music, and again get playing as a guitar player. So when I see chords that go together, there's a particular formula that they follow, and that is the 1 is the home of the key that I'm in, the 4th is 4 letter names above that, and the 5th, obviously, 5 letter names above that. So that first page in chapter 5, again, I'm going to talk about a few chord progressions in chapter 5. If you have the PDFs handy, this would be a good time to get them out, or again, stop the tape and get them. The first whole page is the chords E, A, and D of some type, minor, 7, major chords all mixed together. And this is in the key, we could say center, key center of A. We're not necessarily in the key of A, but the A is the resolution point. And again, if I use the fingers and count, A, B, C, D is the 4th, and E is the 5th. And I'll play those in a sequence. A, D, E, and A. We probably couldn't get a more natural sounding chord progression. And we've actually heard all the notes in the key of A when you do that, and that is again establishing a tonal center or a home. So it doesn't matter whether I'm playing rock or folk or blues or jazz or classical music, they will use that formula of chords and arrange them in different ways and find clever ways to change the chords up and make them sound pleasant together in different patterns and things like that. So keep that in mind when you are trying to figure out a song, when you are looking at songs, and particularly as a beginning guitar player, when you're practicing. If you find a chord you like, for example, G, try to figure out what the other chords would be in that key. G, A, B, I would need to practice a C chord and a D chord in order to get the chords that I'm going to see again in everything from Amazing Grace to Sweet Home Alabama. You know, these are the 3 chords that are being used in those chord progressions in the key of G. So as I look here at chapter 5, that first page was chords that were E, A, and D, all open strings in the bass. Again, I think Disler was clever to put those 3 chord progressions in and get you a workout in the tonal center of A, but also with easy fingerings of chords. And then on the next page, I see number 4 is using B7, E, and A minor. B7, E, and A minor. So think about that for a second. The little clue to look for is 2 chords that are a whole step apart, because that'll be your 4th and your 5th. So if I say the names E, A, and B, we can see that A and B are next to each other. And again, if I count E, F, G, A, and B, those chords are relating in a 1-4-5 pattern. The next chord progression is using E, A, and D. And think about that for a second. Are there two chords that are a whole step apart? Yes. E and D are a whole step apart, D to E. So A, B, C, D, and E. So number 5 is a 1-4-5 type formula that is using A as a tonal center. Number 6 is G, C, and F. And again, notice the G and F are a whole step apart, and C becomes the tonal center. And this is where I'm going to switch gears a little bit and just say, look at some of these fingering exercises she's given you. So this is number 6, and I won't play it in rhythm at first. I just want to show you what she's trying to get you to work on here. She's got a big stretching G7 chord here where I've got F on top and a low G in the bass. But that fingering is almost identical to the way you hold your hand for a C chord, which would actually be the home of the key here. And then there's an F chord, again with that little bar. Notice how straight my finger is there. I'm not close up like this, but away from the guitar. So C is the 1, G7 is the 5, F is the 4, and there's the C. She does the sequence as G7, C, F, I'm playing this in 4-4, 4-quarter notes, and C, G7, and notice this is the 5 chord, and if I stop there, it doesn't sound like an ending. But when I play that home chord C, this is number 6 again, it sounds like it relaxes. Another point I didn't mention on the last video is she doesn't give any measure lines or time signatures in chapter 5. I think again it is more about looking at the fingerings of these chords and how they relate, and there's some similar fingerings. Again, I'll show you a couple more here before we finish this video, but what you want to do is pick a time signature and try to strum maybe one measure per chord. So for example, that one I just played, I did in 4/4 time, and I strummed each chord 4 times. But I encourage you to try 3/4 or 2/4, or even extend it to 2 measures per chord. It is up to you, again, to kind of experiment a little bit with these chords and get used to what the different feels of time signatures are. What does it feel like when I do a cycle of 2 chords or 3 chords or 4 chords? So keep that as maybe a way to be a little bit creative. You could come up with different strumming patterns too, but if you're just a beginning chord player, I would keep the strumming very simple. Do whole notes. Get off the old chord early to get to the new chord on time. That was the lesson I did in the last video. And the way to practice, start playing in rhythm. Playing in rhythm means that I'm not stopping, but I'm doing 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So every time 1 comes, I am hitting a chord right on the beat. So again, look for the similarities in fingerings. Number 6 has a good one to get used to, and so does number 3. I particularly like this idea of playing an E chord and then an A minor chord. Okay, if you can see that, those chords are exactly the same fingering. That's that stamping idea of leaving your fingers in a chord shape. So I play E to A minor, D7, again a very similar fingering, back to A minor, and E. So I highly recommend that one. That's number 3. Any of the first three are really good to work on, but that particular one has that nice A minor to E change. You could just practice that back and forth, those two chords. Number 6 has the other similar chord shapes I just mentioned, and then I usually have the class take a look at numbers 8 and 9. In number 8, her suggestion is to play this G chord and then to tuck your index finger under your, your middle finger under your index finger to get that E minor chord, and then leave your middle finger down to get C. So there's a little bit of finger gymnastics going on, but the idea is that I'm finding a common finger between the chords. So that is, I think, a good preview for you in chords that you might see. And if you look for ways to be most efficient as possible, try to be efficient. That was number 8. So again, I had G. I went to E minor, leaving my first finger on the 5th string. And then I left my middle finger on the 4th string for C. Came back to E minor. And then G. And another one, I can remember practicing this as a young guitar player, playing a C chord and then turning that into A minor. Only one finger is changing. My C is coming off the bass and coming onto the G string, 2nd fret A. So that's a good one to just practice back and forth. It's that idea where I'm holding some fingers still, some common fingers, and I'm teaching some independence of a particular finger. That whole sequence is C, 2, 3, A minor. This is number 9 on page 41. And then D7, back to A minor, and C. Starts over. C, I take that 3rd finger, tuck it underneath. D7. And A minor. And C. Those last 2 chord progressions I just played, numbers 8 and 9, are not 1, 4, 5 chord progressions. Again, you can hear a little bit more variety in the progressions themselves. They don't follow the pattern, and again, they don't have to follow the pattern. I just want to point out that the 1, 4, 5 is the strongest and most common by far pattern that we see in all styles of music. So we will wrap it up here, and the next video we'll talk about chapter 6. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.